Hello, it's me, Larone. I'm back. In this time between the Norman Seabrook trials, I just would like to talk about a question that I was asked when I went to court by an NPR reporter. This reporter asked me this question: how do officers feel about this case? How do officers feel about the Norman Seabrook case, the trial? And it seems like a simple question, but it's not, because there's so many different point of views that officers have concerning the Norman Seabrook trial. So I had to explain to him. There's at least 4 different points of view when it comes to the Norman Seabrook trial. You have a group of officers who look at Seabrook's accomplishments as union president, and they come away with the conclusion that this is a witch hunt. The government is spending all this money to prosecute this union leader who has done good things for correction officers, helped them raise the salaries, got the 20-year pension, the HART bill, the variable supplement, all these positive things that have happened during his tenure. Now he's being charged with taking bribes and things of that nature. This is all just a waste of time. They're just prosecuting him because he is a prominent leader. And you also have to take into consideration that the majority of the membership is African American and Latino, and there's a history in this country of the government going after prominent black leaders, and this is just another example of that. You have that point of view. Some people feel, because of all the things that Norman has done in the past, that he can do no wrong, that this is just a witch hunt. And some even go as far as to say, and I've heard officers say, even if he did take the $60,000, everybody's doing it. All the people that are in power are taking money, so why is this any different? Why are they going after him? There's got to be some other reason for it. Is it because they want to take Rikers Island? They want to get him out the way? There's a myriad of reasons why officers think that this case is a waste of time. So you have that point of view. Pretty much I consider people, you can sum it up to say that, they feel like Norman can't do anything wrong. So you have that point of view. Then you have the point of view of officers who have been watching Norman for the last 20 years, and they know of instances where he didn't do what he was supposed to do. Instances where he didn't support officers, where officers lost their jobs, where he went after people. He's been accused of sexual harassment and a whole myriad of things that come along with being the union president, I guess. And they look at all of these examples of this man getting away with so much dirt during the course of his terms. And now it has culminated into a $20 million loss of annuity fund money and union money. And they say, see, this is a result of people not paying attention or choosing to look the other way when people were trying to sound the alarm, telling everybody that we have to monitor this person because he is becoming drunk with power. And now the evidence is clear in their minds that what they've been saying all the years has now come to fruition, that Norman is finally being called on the things that he has done in the past, and this is the reason why this case is coming about. And as far as they're concerned, it's long overdue. So you have those two varying points of view. People who feel like, hey, this is a witch hunt, they're persecuting this guy for no reason. And then the people who say, hey, this is long overdue because this guy's been doing dirt for a long time. Then you have a third point of view. You have people who say, you know what, I know all the positive things that Norman has done. I know of the negative things that Norman has done, but I just want to focus on the charges that the government has brought against him now. And listen to the evidence and discern whether there was a crime committed or not, whether he did the things that he is being accused of. So they're aware of the positive, they're aware of the negative, but they want to put those things to the side and try to understand the charges and try to discern whether or not he's innocent or guilty based on the evidence that's presented in court. So you have those 3 points of view. But then there's a fourth point of view that most of us ignore or are not aware of. You have the point of view of correction officers who were directly affected by the choices that Seabrook made as it relates to the annuity fund. There are officers who have retired between the time that the money was lost and now that have not received the full annuity fund, and they feel as though they've been robbed. And the government makes no bones about it. There are victims in this case. From their point of view, the government is prosecuting Seabrook, and they are saying that the victims are the correction officers, the hard-working men and women of correction that put their lives on the line every day to go and do this very stressful, very dangerous job. They are the victims in this case. Now, for those of us that are retired like myself, we understand what the annuity fund is. We understand that when we retired, we got money that was put on the side for us to help us make our transition into our retirement. Officers that are directly affected are not only the officers that have retired between the time the $20 million was lost and now, but the officers that are active that have money in the annuity fund now are, in terms as far as the government is concerned, are the victims here. All right. Now, the annuity fund for officers that are active right now, I know you've been hearing about the annuity fund, but it may not be your focus right now because you're dealing with the day-to-day issues that concern correction officers. But I know you've heard, if you've been listening, that the city gives the union money to invest in your behalf, and when you retire, you will receive that money to help you do whatever it is that you want to do. Some correction officers, when they retire, they have outstanding loans with NICERs, and they choose to use their annuity money to pay off those loans. Some officers, they use that money when they retire for a down payment of a house. Some officers go buy a new car. Some officers use that money to relocate to Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Arizona, wherever they want to move to. They use that money to relocate with. Some officers leave the money in the annuity fund, and some officers move that money and roll it over into a 401k or something like that. So officers do use that money to make their transition from being an active officer to being a retired officer. And the money is not like a whole lot of money, but it's between $5,000, $10,000, and maybe more, depending on how the money is invested during your time as a correction officer. The bottom line is that the money is yours. Active officers, the money is yours. It has your name on it, and it should be there when you retire. The officers that are directly affected by this are officers are more so directly affected, and they can actually see what has been done, are the officers that have retired between the time that the $20 million was lost and now. Now, an officer made me aware of this because the officer said to me, if you were robbed, would you want the person who robbed you to be punished? And, you know, the obvious answer is yes. I would like for the person who robbed me to be punished. And the officer, and I'm sure that wasn't the only officer, I'm sure there are a group of officers that feel that they've been robbed, that they don't have that lump sum of money to help them make their transition from being an active officer to being a retired officer. They can't buy that car that they always wanted. They can't put that down payment on their house the way that they wanted to do. They may not be able to relocate as easily as they could have had they had that lump sum that comes with the annuity money. All right, now when you look at it from their perspective as them being robbed, and you look at the amount of money it is, it's $20 million, and you divide that between 9,000 officers, that's like $2,200 per officer. So if you're looking at it as a robbery, then Seabrook has robbed 9,000 officers of $22,000 each. So you have officers that believe that, and the government is more or less representing those officers. And you got to also understand that this case is probably the only justice that they will get. They've lost their money. From all indications, they probably will not receive any of that money, and if they do receive some of it, it'll probably be a reduced amount, a percentage of what they should have gotten. So, and then they also don't have the advantage of having that money when they retire or upon their retirement. So they've lost that opportunity to do the things that normally you could do with that money when you retire. So even if they get it 10 years from now, it doesn't have the same effect as it was designed to have. And then they look at the fact that there was a protocol in place, that you had a annuity fund trustee board that was supposed to make these investments, and that protocol was circumvented by Seabrook because he didn't bring all the information to the table and show the other members of the annuity fund trustee board the information that he had received from the financial advisor. So right there, the officers that fall into this category, that have retired and didn't receive the full measure of their annuity fund, they feel like that's a crime right there. He should have followed protocol. He should have brought the information from the financial advisor to the executive board members that sit on the trustee board, and maybe that would have kept their money safe. But for whatever reason, Norman decided not to bring that information to them. And then during the court case, it's been brought up that Norman was thinking about running for mayor, and maybe that was one of his motivations for not bringing the information to the executive board trustees, or maybe that's the reason why he invested the money with Platinum Partners, in order to, keep a friendly relationship with the individuals that run that fund, in the hopes that they would raise money for him and support him, during his campaign for mayor. So for them, it's like staring them in the face that something went wrong here, that that they have lost their money because of the actions of this gentleman, this union leader, and they would like to see him punished. Now, the things that I've said, and I think that we've learned in court, and that I just spoke about, him not bringing the financial advisor's information to the trustees, for some reason, this is not a criminal offense. The fact that he may have been doing this because he wanted to run for mayor and he wanted them to support him doesn't appear to be a criminal offense. The fact that he took money, not money, but took trips that were paid for by Jonah Resnick does not seem to be a criminal offense. The fact that he got Ferragamo shoes and a Ferragamo bag, it seems to be okay. I don't think that this is considered to be criminal in this case. The thing that this case hinges on is whether he accepted $60,000 as quid pro quo. Whether that $60,000 was the reason, whether he received that $60,000 and in return for that $60,000 he invested the $20 million from the annuity fund. That's the question that's here. But as far as the officers that have lost the money, their money's still lost because of the actions that Seabrook took or didn't take or should have taken. And they feel that someone should be punished for that. So, and then it's also ironic that the executive board, the members from the executive board that are on the trustee board that are supposed to see this information that Seabrooks has from the financial advisor come to court and say they haven't received the information, they haven't seen it, they didn't see it. But then they also say, some of them also say that Seabrooks was a tyrant and that they had to go along with Seabrook, whatever he told them to do. Pretty much they felt that they had to do it because he had all the power, that he could take their positions away and expel them from the executive board, take their cars, their stipend and everything like that. So it calls into question whether or not, if they even had the information, would they have gone in another direction? Would they still have invested the money or not? You know, because they are, or were they so afraid of Seabrook that they would have gone along with him anyway? You know, it's no way of knowing, but it calls into question the whole way the union functions. So for officers that are directly affected by this, they are the victims here. They feel as though they've been violated and they want to hold someone responsible. So you have, in summary, you have 4 different positions. You have the officers that feel like this is just a witch hunt. Seabrooks has done nothing wrong here. There's nothing to see here. The government is wasting their money by prosecuting him. Then you got the officers that feel like, hey, this guy's been getting away with dirt for the last 15, 20 years. No one has called them on it. People have been telling them. People have seen the red flags, and now it culminated in $20 million lost, and now finally he's being held accountable for his actions. Is long overdue. And then you have the officers that say, hey, I know the positives, I know the negatives, I just want to focus on what the case, what he's being charged with and the evidence that comes out in the case and determine whether or not he's innocent or guilty. And then you have the officers that have seen enough already, that have been directly affected by it. They've seen it. They have not received their annuity fund money, or they've received a reduced amount of their annuity fund money because of the actions of Norman Seabrook. They've seen that he has taken trips that were paid for by other individuals that were affiliated with this hedge fund. They've seen that he did not bring information to the annuity fund trustees like he was supposed to. So for them, he's already shown that his actions have cost them money, and they want to see him held accountable for that. They feel as though they've been robbed. So you have those 4 points of view here, right? At the end of the day, we're all correction officers, and we all still have to come together to deal with some of the issues that affect the correction officers now and in the future. But I just wanted to let everybody kind of think about these varying points of view and see where you fall on that spectrum, and you know, kind of try to understand the way, if you don't believe what other people believe, try to understand how they feel. And you know, it's not just so cut and dry. It's not just, one point of view. There's very important view. I outlined 4. There may be more than that. But that's pretty much it for now. When the case starts, if it starts, we'll cover that. And until then, if I have any other commentary, I'll come back here and kick it with you. But until then, peace and stay safe.